I am Doug Friedman.
And I am Meredith Levy. This is Your Mental Breakdown,
the podcast.
Hello. Hi.
Hello. We are your co-hosts, licensed psychotherapists and longtime friends and people that chat with each other quite a bit and now chatting for all of you to hear.
Super fun.
Although I will say I'm a little off my game because it's night. Normally we record like daytime and it is dark out, like dark.
Yeah. Well, and you're an hour ahead.
Exactly. And even then it's not that late and it's dark, right? I know you're a big daylight savings person.
Yes. I like it when it's late.
And now that it's dark, I'm like, okay, as a kid, I was scared of the dark. I'm not afraid of the dark at all anymore. However, at like midnight the other night, Beckett started barking and like jumped off the bed and like, all right, let's go see what it was. And I have a little like spotlight. It's like a bike headlamp that's super powerful.
Do you put it on your head?
No, I just hold it with my hand. Although when I was camping, I had those headlamps, which are fantastic. I love those. I'm shining the spotlight out the window before I let him out the door. And I see what looks like a beautiful, beautiful like panther. Like it's just amazing that it's pitch black except for my spotlight on this thing that's maybe like 20, 30 yards away from me at most, just walking across the mountain on the hill. And it's a mountain lion. It's a freaking mountain lion.
Oh,
right
my
there.
God. No way.
The best part is I'm like shining the light and I realize what it is and it turns and looks right at me, you know, like its eyes get caught in the light.
Yeah.
And I swear I nearly like ducked the window, like ducked down so it wouldn't see me.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah. Sorry, Beckett, you're going to have to hold it till the morning. You're not going out there.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Wild.
They come out during the day too, right?
I suppose. I mean, I'd have to look. Are they nocturnal predators or what? There's signs that, you know, the National Forest Trail that's pretty much the end of my driveway has signs saying mountain lions present.
Right.
Keep your dogs on leash. Don't feed them and pet them.
Don't feed them and pet them. I'm going to feed and pet all the mountain lions I can.
Right?
That's fun. It must be freezing there, no? It's freezing here. Fucking rain. It's been raining.
Right. LA has been rainy, which it needs, which is great.
Yes. Great. Yeah.
Literally, it is freezing here. It is 21 degrees right now.
Right now? Oh, my.
Right now. Yep.
That is very cold.
Yeah. We're supposed to have snow this week. We'll see what happens. Rain, not so much for me. I know you don't like driving in the rain, but what about just rain in general?
Sure. If I'm like from like 6 p.m. to like 6 a.m., I'm fine with that.
Right. When I don't have to go anywhere.
Yeah. When I'm like, when it's dark and I can't tell anyway. And it's, I mean, again, I talk about this a lot. It's just that LA isn't built for rain. So everything floods so easily and people crash and you know what I mean? It's just not set up well, which is understandable because we barely have rain. So It just becomes, I mean, yeah, there's something fun about the few times that I can wear my Hunter rain boots, the Hunter brand, the ones that like we all girls love and can only wear like 3 times a year in LA.
Right.
Yes, it's great for the environment. We need it. Yay, I know.
Maybe someday I'll get nostalgic for having 70 to 80 degree weather every single day of the year. But right now, no, not so much.
Yeah, I get it. It's nice to mix it up a little bit. I like a little bit of chilly with sun. That's fun too.
Yeah. Speaking of chilly with sun,
we've been talking about the weather for like a solid 5 minutes. Do you think that people don't want to hear more about it? Are we done entertaining them with our weather combos?
I would say a solid half of our listeners skip all of the stuff we talk about and go straight to the session. And the other half were like loving what we're talking about, or they're just like, cool, you're keeping me company while I'm washing my dishes.
Totally. Speaking of washing dishes.
There we go.
Actually.
That's true. That's actually timely.
I know.
Right?
He even brought it up once in this.
I know, because he's been doing it, which is awesome. I mean, I think that's great.
I know. It's rad. I actually thought of you the other day when I pretty much don't let one dish sit in my sink, but there are times where there's like a few and just like need to be I don't even know. Or like they're on the drying rack and they need to be put away. And the other day I walked by and I was like, meh. And then not for some reason, I thought of you and I was like, oh, dishes, just do them now. And I was like, fine. And even though it's like such a minuscule thing, I did it. Of course I did it.
And how did that make you feel, Meredith?
Made me feel so good.
You do. You have like a real sense of accomplishment after it. I mean, that's why Drew was like, right. That's like that guy that gave the just make your bed speech. Start off the morning and having accomplished something, even if it's small. And then at night, when you go to bed, like you have a freshly made bed. I think same thing with dishes, even though pretty much every night or two, you're looking at a sink full of dishes again, right?
Yeah. Also, funny thing not about that, the bed thing. Right before we started, I pulled my sheets and stuff out of the dryer and was like making my bed first. And I was like, I got to make it before we record because like at this point it's evening. And I was thinking how often guys actually probably wash their sheets compared to girls. And I think it's like a whole thing. We could do a whole thing on this because I wash my sheets once a week for sure. But then like pillows, like you have to actually wash your pillows too. The whole pillow. You got to wash your comforters. You got to wash them all, especially pillows. Pillows are disgusting. I knew you didn't know that. Of course.
No, I did not. I've never washed my actual pillow.
Yeah, of course you have to wash your actual pillow.
Wow. I wash my pillowcases all the time.
We'll do a whole thing on that, you guys.
We could.
And mattress pads, whole nother thing. You got to wash those very frequently too.
Sure. Yeah, once a year.
Gross.
I wash them. I time it with how often I go. Every time I go to the dentist, I wash my mattress pad.
Oh my God. That's actually not a bad idea.
Right. Where for me, that would be once a year. For you, it would be like every 3 months.
3 to 4. Okay. So yes. So what's happening? We're
getting into it. We're going to step aside. You'll listen to it. You'll soak it in, and we will be back in a few minutes to break it down. Your mom might never hear any of this at all. Fine, no worries. Mm-hmm. I think you've now learned the idea of starting a conversation, of the anxiety about the thing versus the thing.
Yeah, and I think mentality-wise, I've been thinking about that a lot lately. It's funny you bring that up. I think I'm back to bachelor party with that, in the sense of like, I have no idea what that looks like. And I'm only going off of what I've had in the past, of what our conversations have looked like and how those go and triggers and all that bullshit. Right. Which is why I've been so afraid of it, I think. But over the last couple of months, I mean, with my mom relapsing and going through her shit again and just, everything that's happened in the last couple of months, I'm kind of getting to a point. And honestly, like this whole last weekend of Kobe and all of that kind of stuff, which is just horrible. But when stuff like tragedy happens, it kind of brings you back. And I've really been thinking more so along the lines of like, what if I never have that conversation with her? And what would I feel like? And that scares me a little bit more.
What if you're like knowing I held this thing and never got to do that with her and have that with her? Yeah,
because I think we both are on the same page of like understanding that conversation will come eventually. Mm-hmm. Like it'll come, right. Like, it's just a matter of when. And I think I'm gearing up for that when.
How?
I think this has been my first step, this last year of being here and kind of getting my head in the right spot, understanding that it's okay. Her whole situation isn't my situation.
Yeah.
And that's what I've always tied it into.
Yeah.
And now I'm understanding that that's not my situation. And I know we've talked about that, but it's becoming a little bit more, it's like reality. It was a thought and now it's like real life.
You see it in practice. You're experiencing it. It's the line from The Matrix that I love. There's a difference between knowing your path and walking your path.
Yeah.
So intellectually, you might know it. But then when you're out there in your everyday life and you start to experience it and you experience her in a different way because your perspective has changed, you're reinforcing that new pathway, that new trail in your brain. Yeah. So now that idea of preparation, and I'm air quoting that for the conversation, there's no preparation. It's just, right? You're shaking your head like, oh yeah, it's not about that.
Yeah.
It's about, I now have more frame of reference.
Right.
And by experiencing it a little bit at a time, you go, oh, okay, now I'm building a new frame of reference because I want to see it differently. And I'm looking at it more openly. And yeah, I'm ready. I'm okay. She might still not be okay. And that's her, I don't want to say problem, but, but that's her problem.
Yeah, it is. I don't know if I'll ever be ready, but I felt really confident in that conversation, like summer. Then I think this is like a typical pattern for me in the past of like me almost getting there. And then I go down the rabbit hole and then yada, yada. And then friend passes away. And then I kind of got distracted from my whole purpose of why I was really not here because I was here for myself, but the mentality of like, that's what I wanted to work on.
Yeah.
And I felt like I kind of lost focus on that.
It's also sometimes a protective device, a defense mechanism, right? I think about friend Kobe. Like these were all things that could have been incredibly impactful.
Mm-hmm.
I have to think about my mortality, the people around me.
Mm-hmm.
One of the moving things I saw was Shaq tearing up and, talking about wanting to make amends to everybody that he's had beef with.
Yeah, that was the hardest one to watch, I think.
That idea that any one of these things could have impacted you, but you had to compartmentalize. Mm-hmm. And that was a defense. And, okay, let me go this way.
Mm-hmm.
We need to do that sometimes. So we don't feel that incredible devastation, shock, grief, that burden, all of it all at once is...
Yeah, it was just too much.
Yeah.
Like way too much.
Yeah.
And I think I'm washing my plates again. I'm doing one thing at a time. I interviewed for a new job, which I wasn't really expecting. Last week I was really in my zone doing my own thing and enjoying it. And then I got a call and my guy was like, hey, bro, do you want to come work here? And I was like, see what happens, like, sure, I'm interested. Yeah, I felt that feeling of like, okay, this is like, I need to get back into here.
Right.
And then that kind of like translated into like knocking one thing down. And then I came home and knocked a bunch of other shit out.
Nice.
And I was like, okay, like now that I see this, that makes a lot more sense. And I think the last like 6 months even, I've really just kind of like put the burners on and been like, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to talk to anybody. And now I think in the last like couple of weeks, I've realized that this isn't really what's going to make me thrive. And I bring that up because I think I'm getting back into my routine and not other people's routines. And I think this is the first time in my life I've really done something for myself by myself. Because like everything else, job-wise, career-wise, move-wise, has been for other people. Moving downtown, and now this new opportunity is kind of, it's just new for me. And I needed new again, and it feels really good. And I bring that back into mom because I think what I needed was to be able to find my own self-confidence, to be able to come back in almost like a third-party way, not little Drew and mom, but myself and mom, and realizing what that looks like and the dynamics and how I'm much older. Like I'm 10 years older than when all of this kind of first started, so we've been through a lot and I've seen a lot, and now I'm starting to understand it. And to your matrix, I think I'm very good at thinking about my walk. I think I'm really good at it. I suffer at walking my walk. I'm really good at thinking about stuff. Like I'm really fucking good at it.
Right.
But actually doing it's a struggle for me. I'm gonna put a little depression in there, like 10% of just not wanting to do anything and be. But I'm starting to get out of that too. And more in a frustration way. Like I'm so frustrated with myself of just not necessarily wanting to do anything, not having the drive, not having, I don't want to say ability, because I think I still have the ability to get out of bed.
You touched depression for a second.
Mm-hmm.
And that's could be a breakup, could be chemical, like clinical depression, like being in a depressive episode, just being there and being stuck. And that getting out of bed, for some people that have never experienced depression, they don't understand. They're like, just drink some coffee, just get up, do some push-ups, let's go, come on. They don't get that there's just this sense of gray. I had one client who says depressed people are the most optimistic people. It's like, what do you mean? Well, because every morning they wake up feeling depressed and yet they get out of bed. So they must be thinking it's going to get better. It's got to get better.
Hell yeah.
Right?
Hell yeah. I'm with that.
Yeah. Also for you, what I hear is you're building self-confidence by building your sense of mastery, adulting, like being able to do some of these things on my own and feeling like, wow, I can be self-sufficient, right? And the more we get that, the more we feel that, we can build that confidence and we can do these things. When we're comparing to how we should be or how somebody thinks we're supposed to be or what we grew up thinking, then we're going to feel defeated before we even try. That's why we can't walk the walk.
Right.
I see my dad being successful. I see friends doing well. That's what I want. I want to achieve that. And it's fucking hard to get there sometimes. And we're not there. So we'll start to feel a little down or a little bad. Throw in something like a breakup or a realization that I don't have a tight friend group right here. And then you're like, oh, shit. Well, I guess I'll just kill time until.
Yeah. I think that's coming too with my self-confidence of I always felt like I needed to do events, do stuff that made other people happy. Like, what do you want to go do? I don't care what we do. What do you want to go do? And now I'm finding little things that I want to go do.
How?
Pretty easy. I just sit and think, what do I want to do today?
Really?
Yeah. And I'm like, that sounds fun. Let's do it.
That's great. Believe it or not, a lot of people are paralyzed by that.
Yeah.
Like,
and I do. Trust me, it's there. And I'll think and I'll think and I'll think, oh, that'll be fun. Oh, that'll be fun. Oh, that'll be fun. And then it's 5 o'clock. And I'm like, tried. I thought about it, but I didn't do anything.
That's oftentimes when it's nice to have a buddy or a partner or somebody next to us.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I think this would be fun. Yeah, it is. Let's go do it. Because I can sit here and think about it for another couple hours and then just catch up on some Star Wars movies or some shit.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. But I've seen 100 times.
Right?
You know?
Yeah, but why not 101?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And the why not is because somebody next to you will go, well, let's go outside and see what's there. Skydiving sounds cool. Let's go. Whatever. Right?
I went and saw an old girlfriend. I realized that she really showed me a lot of that in my life. Because when I got there, I was like, all right, let's just watch a movie and kick it. She's like, no, let's go to dinner. Let's go out. Let's go see the town. Let's have fun and do something. But it was just really genuine and really fun, which I missed a lot. And now it's put me in a weird head spot because like now I'm thinking about all the good shit that we did for the last 10 years and not really thinking about why we broke up or why it didn't work out.
Sure.
And so I'm trying to be careful with all that just because it is so touchy and there is a lot there.
Okay. Let's walk through a little of that.
Yeah.
Because what I hear is we've had a lot of history. So there's some comfort there. And it's, we call it revisionist history, where you're only looking at the good stuff, right? You're forgetting why we broke up or what was going on, right? And there is something comfortable about seeing her, like we've talked about that before. All right. Where's the harm?
I think for myself, half of me still loves her and loves that relationship that we had and wants to explore it still. And the other half of me is very logical and rational. I live in LA. I work a lot. You don't do what I do and our lives don't really mix yet. And so my fear, the harm, is that I'm exploring to kind of see how I feel. And then she gets all these feelings back. And then it's like, I don't feel it and she does. And I don't want to hurt her in the process. Because it's just been a lot in these last couple of years. And I don't think she deserves that, especially like where I'm at right now. I'm just trying to figure myself out in general.
Right.
And I've had that conversation with her a couple of times, which has been good. Yeah.
How was that?
It was good, but I think her as a person is still pretty immature and doesn't necessarily understand what that means wholeheartedly. I think she hears it as, oh, there's still a chance, not as, hey, I'm trying to figure out what's going on. I think that's the harm, her getting hurt.
Okay, so there's two harms that I hear. One is her getting hurt and you looking out for somebody else, right? Sure. The other is you misleading somebody. And you've already cleared that up by saying what was honest for you and where you are, right? Which is sometimes really hard to do because it'd be really easy to go like, yo, we used to have a relationship and things used to be great. And now you're there like, all right, let's fuck around, hang out. Let's be great, cool, no strings, awesome. And I'm figuring stuff out. She might think, challenge accepted. I'm going to win him back. But you're very cognizant of, I know I'm not in that place.
Right.
You've said it enough to her. You said we had a conversation a couple times, right? If you start to feel like, well, wait, what's going on? This is weird because she's acting like she's my girlfriend or I'm her boyfriend and I'm not. We don't even live in the same town right now. Like, I can't do this. I'm feeling some sense of obligation that I didn't want. Hang on. Let's revisit that talk.
Yeah. that happened. Because we've been talking for a couple months now. We had that conversation, and then we were all good again. I saw her in San Diego, and we've been talking again. And I think we're in a good spot right now. It's just scary.
It's scary, huh?
Because I don't want to be in a relationship, but I'm also lonely again. And so it's like figuring out the dynamics of the two in my own being of what does it look like to not be lonely in that sense and still be self-confident enough to be on my own.
Right.
And I'm trying to figure that out like currently. So I don't know.
Yeah, but that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And it's having somebody who can be with you and provide some companionship feels great. That's one of the joys of being human is to have human connection and interaction, regardless of intimacy. And it feels good.
Right.
Absolutely. So having that's fine. Feeling lonely, like I need someone to complete me, like the missing piece books, right? Like I need someone to complete me, or I'm not complete unless I have someone, or I am someone's piece. You know, that's where we go, wait a second. That's not just lonely. That's codependent. That's my self-worth is wrapped up in them. Wait a second. How do I feel whole myself? Doesn't mean once you're whole, you'll never feel lonely. As we talk about how it feels in terms of loneliness, I think looking at having a dog is great, but it's not going to be the same thing for many reasons. And having a companion, like friend, is great. Having a girlfriend can also be great. There is some obligation that goes along with it, some reciprocity, and the loneliness might turn into, great, I don't feel lonely, and I feel obligation. And it's finding that balance and finding where you are as an individual, what you want, and how you can be for someone or not be.
Yeah.
Which sounds more like what you were talking, old girlfriend. But like, yo, can't be your boyfriend. I'm not down with that. Like, I'm happy to be somebody that hangs with you, and we can be physical if we want to. We can have great talks. I don't want any obligation anywhere around me.
Yeah, you know, and it's not to say that down the road it doesn't come back. And that's kind of the thing I've voiced is like, yeah, I mean, I don't know what the future holds. And maybe that wording isn't the right way for her mindset. Maybe I need to be a little more clear on no right now.
Look, I'm not your boyfriend. I'm not dating other people.
Right.
But don't put that obligation on me. I will choose you right now because that's where I am right now.
Yeah, definitely. See, I think that last part, that's the part that scares me. I choose you right now. Because I do. I choose her right now.
Yeah.
What happens tomorrow? And that's where my brain goes of like, well, I got to think long term now because like I do care about her. I really do.
Yeah.
And I think we're both in a position where we're getting older. We have so much history, you know, like on paper and in real life, honestly. It's like if we do get back together, like that's a long term thing. In my mind, I don't know about her, but like in my head, it's like I'm not going to go through all this again just to go through it. That's the obligation part that scares me.
How so? What is that for you?
I want to be super intentional with this and know exactly where I want to go with it. And the obligation piece for me is marriage and like long-term commitment. And that scares the fuck out of me.
Absolutely. And that's future. We don't know that. Right?
Yeah. The
idea of I want to go into this intentionally, like know what I'm doing. Is it okay for you to say, hey, what I want, my intention is to be here now and to be present for this. And that's all I can give right now.
Yeah, I think that's good because we're both on the same page and can't help but to think about my mom in this too for some reason in the sense of long-term obligation. You know, and I think...
How so?
I still feel obligated to take care of her.
Yeah.
I don't think it's my choice to necessarily take care of her, even though I choose to do it. I feel obligated because I think I'm the only one that will.
How does that feel? Pause there for a second.
It's a lot of pressure. It's very lonely. I think it's more lonely than anything, knowing that like I got to do it by myself. I just don't think that it would be genuine. It would be obligated help. Yeah, it'd be obligated.
Yeah. Well, look, it is, as you've said, obligation. Even though you're choosing it, it's an obligation because you feel a responsibility and no one else will. And there are maybe 2 people, 2.5, brother, dad, and mom that would have a similar sense. I give the half to your mom because she's, at least right now, she isn't interested in any real transformational difference in her life. Okay. Dad has a little more history than you with her and probably has his own defenses and guard and his way. And your brother, for all intents and purposes, seem to go, that's her problem. I'm over here. So yeah, it's lonely because the other 2.5 people aren't pitching in, certainly not the same way you are. And you can call on them, maybe not brother, but you have. Mom doesn't hear it. Some days she does. Dad does, but he does it his own way. So how does that sound as I say that back to you?
It sounds right on point. It's exactly how I feel. It's like they understand. I think brother, not so much because he wasn't really there. Me and my dad, I think, are in that same circle. In the next one, where we were there, we were doing it together in different ways, but he might be one circle out from me, even because he worked a lot and didn't necessarily see everything I saw. And I think he does have more history with her. So he's seen more than I have, but differently.
In some senses, his circle is closer than yours.
Yeah.
But I kind of look at it as they're the same size, but they've just shifted over.
Yeah.
And it's like that Venn diagram. There's a little crossover where you guys like intersect or overlap. And yeah, we see it the same way and we understand.
Because it's like he's there, but it's a little bit off. And I think I'm kind of the epicenter of it all because I'll talk about it with all of them, but they won't talk about it amongst themselves. And so, I feel like I'm also taking care of them in a sense too. It's stressful. It's a lot.
Yeah. It's forget choice and obligation for a second. It's just a lot of responsibility.
I don't even know what to do anymore because she says she's done, but I've heard it every single time. And so now it's just like, now I'm being lied to and I know it. What's the point?
Okay, 2 pieces there. Now I'm being lied to. Well, it's sort of like the game of telephone. Because the first lie, she's telling herself. Then you're hearing. But you're taking it as she's directly telling you that.
Yeah.
Because it really is up to her to change. It's not like you're going to take her to rehab and she's going to just change. She's been there before. It's not like you're somehow going to miraculously save her by giving her a purpose, a reason to want to live, a reason to feel good about herself. But regardless, that first lie.
Yeah, she told herself.
That betrayal. Yeah.
That makes sense. And that's more comforting than anything.
Yeah. Because it's not directed at you. In fact, all right, therapy moment here. Right? You are being lied to.
Yeah.
It's not coming from her.
Is it myself? Am I lying to myself here?
I don't know. What do you think of that idea?
I don't know if I'm lying, but I almost want to say that I'm in a magic show because I see it and I can feel it, but what I'm seeing and feeling isn't necessarily the truth. And so I'm taking it for what it is, but I don't think I'm getting the full picture in it. And
why not?
I think I'm choosing not to. I think I'm afraid of it. I think I'm afraid of the whole picture.
Which is what?
I think seeing my mom so broken in a full picture, I don't know if I can handle all that. And seeing like little bits and pieces a lot easier for me in that.
What's at the core of it? I mean, if we were to give it a line, a sentence.
I don't want to see my mom hurting. I think at the end of the day, that's where I'm at. And it helped me. It could be more. I don't know.
I think it is more.
Yeah.
I think it's not just I'm hurting. Because I'm hurting might imply like I'm hurting. Okay, well, let me help you. Right? Here's the magic show. Here's part of the illusion and the lie. Is, yeah, you're hurting and you want help or you want it to be different. And I can help. I can make it different. I can show a way to not hurt. I can take the hurt away.
Yeah.
No, I think there's a reality that we are choosing not to see, which is my mom is so hurt, as you said, she's broken and doesn't have the tools, doesn't have the awareness to help herself, isn't hearing it from anyone around her, and would rather take drugs and even not be here than be here.
Yeah. Just scary.
Hugely scary.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when the lie that we're telling, the illusion, the magic show is, wait, no, she really does. I just got to get her to see, no, I can help her.
Yeah.
It can be different. She will want to be here. She'll want to be here for me.
Mm-hmm. I think also with the illusion and lying to myself is that I think I have the tools to help her when I don't think I really do. I think in a lot of it, I've tried to bring tools to her to show her how to help herself. In reality, I was trying to help her when I can't. Like there's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do other than love on her and tell her how much I love her. And at the end of the day, that's all I got, which is horrible for me as a person because it's like I like taking care of people. I like fixing situations. And
well, it's horrible for you as a person so far.
Yeah.
It might actually be liberating for you as a person if we recognize that. Because that at the core of it is it's not for you to save.
Yeah.
And part of why it's horrible for me as a person, because I want to save people. I want to do that. Why? Why are you so driven? Because if I save enough people, I'll save my mom.
Yeah.
There's the Jesus right there. Yeah. WWJD. I will bear the burden for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
So I always told myself I could handle it. I think that's the other lie I told myself. And now I'm realizing I can't. And now I'm pretty deep into it. And it's like, shit.
Right. And here's where the liberation comes. And there's some catharsis here too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've been carrying that weight. Yeah. Jesus carried his own cross, carried the crucifix out there. And that's the weight that you're carrying, is that there's a giant weight that you're carrying and thinking, I can take it all on. Sacrifice me so that others may live, others may be happy, and others. Okay, but this is your life. Sorry, but you're not Jesus. You actually, by virtue of living, will help more people. By virtue of you lifting the weight and releasing it, will help more people.
Yeah, I think so too. Because when I'm not under that, I feel like that's where I excel and I can be vulnerable and really show where I'm at. And when like right now, I feel like I'm under a lot of pressure, just generally speaking. And I think that contributes to why I want to sit in my house all day.
Sure.
You know, and not be around anybody and not help anybody. And I'm trying to figure out the whys and what to do and to get myself out of it.
Get myself out of it. Okay. But that involves recognizing, wait, I need some help.
Yeah.
I'm a great rescuer. I need to be rescued right now.
Mm-hmm.
Superman with a cape, right?
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's my turn.
The biggest lie that we can tell ourselves with that is if I save enough people, then I will be okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the lie before that is if I save enough people, I'll save my mom.
I want to take that one step further.
Yeah.
And go, if I save enough people, I'll save my mom, which will save me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So how do we tweak that a little bit? How do we fine tune that? So I don't want to take that away from you.
I just want to jump and see how I save me. Because I don't think I can save everybody. I don't think I can save my mom. So I'm the only one that's left. So how do I save myself? And I think that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yep.
And I think I'm kind of getting there.
Dude, you're in the process of it.
Yeah, and going through it.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing it right now.
Yeah.
I think I told you this a long time ago when I was first starting out this job, this kind of work. I heard an old substance abuse counselor and he said, look, here's how it is. I see that I'm in this boat, this little boat. I'm in a little canoe and I got a rope. And if somebody over there is drowning, I'm going to throw the rope out to him. Mm-hmm. And if he grabs it, I'll pull him up and save him. Mm-hmm. If he doesn't grab it, all right, throw the rope back out again. If he doesn't grab it, that second time, I'm going to look out to see who else is drowning. Because someone else is going to grab this rope and I can save them. Mm-hmm. And I love that because he gives somebody a second chance. Mm-hmm. But at some point, you got to go with who's going to be saved.
Right.
I would carry that one step further for you because you are not a substance abuse counselor. I would say if you were in that canoe with a big thing of rope, but there's a hole in it and there's water coming up, and you're still throwing the rope out to the same person that hasn't taken it twice, the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, I can't all drown. I just don't know how to save myself yet.
That's what we're working on, man. That's what we're doing. Really, we're walking that path. You're learning it. You're just recognizing wait a second, let me not hold this rope with two hands. Let me plug this leak.
Yeah.
And once I plug it, and I'm not throwing the rope out there, let me get some of this water out.
Yeah.
And then maybe patch it up. Then maybe I can get back out there.
Mm-hmm.
And if some days that means, I'm just going to stay at home all day and just take a break. Yeah, that's what we might need.
Yeah. Yeah. We can't make it every day.
No. Right.
Yeah.
Right. No. And we can't keep throwing rope out to the same person or to so many people without recognizing we got to leak ourselves.
Yeah. The other thing I'm thinking real quick, just in my picture in my brain.
Yeah.
I see myself throwing the rope out.
Yeah.
And I see somebody behind me throwing a rope to me and I'm not even seeing it because I'm throwing the rope to this person.
Right.
And so it's like, I feel like people are trying to save me. I just haven't recognized it yet.
Yeah. It's like somebody's tapping you on the shoulder because they got the plug for the leak.
Like, I got you. Bro.
Here, take this. You're like, no, hang on. Let me just throw this rope out. Hey, hang on.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's shifting our focus from that person over there drowning that I have to save to wait, where am I? I'm in a boat. Who's around me? Oh, you. Oh, and you're handing me a plug. Oh, good. Okay. Let me do that.
Yeah.
You are almost always going to have an eye on in your peripheral vision, that person that's sinking, like, oh shit, but.
Right.
Oxygen mask on yourself first, then on.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
So we're taking care of it.
Yeah, we're doing it.
Yeah.
We're killing it.
Yeah.
Come on.
And we are back.
We sure are. So, okay, we'll just jump right in.
Jump. Go for it.
So you guys just started off with talking about him being better at starting conversations, which a lot of us do, the anxiety about something versus the actual event itself.
Right. Totally.
And I think that part of what you guys were talking about was based on last week and his friend that passed away, and he didn't get to have like the final, any closure of a conversation or what if.
Yeah, that and the friend's dad that he saw in passing and didn't say anything to the dad because he didn't know what to say or how to say it. And, then got anxious and was holding that. Yeah. Yeah. Both those things.
Right. He was saying about his mom relapsing and his friend. And then he brought up Kobe. And then I was like, oh shit, this is like a year ago when Kobe Bryant died, right? That's crazy that it's been a year.
Yeah, almost exactly a year now. And that was, especially for people that grew up either watching Kobe or in LA or both, it was so impactful because it was so shockingly abrupt.
Yes, so abrupt. And so he was like the mascot of LA, basically. I mean, really, truly, for so long.
Pretty much. Yeah.
And he's around our age. So we all basically grew up with him in a sense. And it was, God, that was so crazy. So sad. And you guys talked about the hardest thing to watch was what Shaq was saying, right? How he wanted to reach out to all the people or make amends or what, I don't remember what he was saying.
Yeah. Any beef that he had with anybody,
yeah.
he was like, life's too short. I just want to, nothing but love. I want to be cool with it. Drew saying that was the hard one to watch. And part of it was, as we talked about, like just feeling like it was too much, like everything was hitting him all at once. Cause he has that sensation a lot where a lot of things hit him all at once and it's too much. And for him, as we talked about it, kind of what he was getting at was that seeing Shaq so affected him.
Right.
And that was like, there's so much, even like starting a conversation. I don't even want to go near a conversation because it might open up all this grief or all these feelings that I've been bottling up for so long, that I've compartmentalized for so long. And I don't know what's going to happen if I go there and open it up. So I don't even want to tell my mom anything. I don't want to start any talk with her. I don't want to talk with my friend's dad because then I might have to deal with everybody that I've lost and thinking I might have lost my mom.
Yeah.
I might still lose my mom.
Yeah.
I said something about this, I think last week, about every loss that you experience opens up every loss that you've ever experienced.
Right.
And somebody on the Facebook group asked me about that. And the reality is we compartmentalize a lot of that. We don't deal with all of it all at once. It's too much.
Right.
So when we have something, especially like Kobe, if people remember that from a year ago, it was so shocking. And it brought a lot up for a lot of people.
What I kept thinking was when he said like having the convo with my mom or whatever, like what conversation exactly is he talking about?
I think from what he's told me, there's a couple things there. It's complex. It's not just one conversation about mom. Like, hey, mom, when you did this, it really hurt me. With mom, there's several things there, as with most people and their mothers.
Right.
Part of the conversation that he's talking about might be getting ready for, but isn't ready for, is what it's created in him, that need to take care of people, that need to be connected to her, that fear that she's not going to be okay if I don't take care of her. That's why we talked about, him feeling this long-term obligation to take care of mom.
So anything that opens like up emotions, and that's okay.
Right. And this is one of the beauties of therapy, is a lot of this, when he said, I know it's coming, tells me as the therapist, he's bringing this up to the surface so we can actually talk about it and we can process it.
Right.
He might not need to have a conversation with his actual mother at all.
Right.
It's just us being able to process all of the emotions and the feelings that are coming up. And there's an exercise in therapy that we do called the empty chair, right? If you remember this one, where next to somebody in an empty chair, you make that like your mom. What would you say to your mom if she was sitting right there? And you kind of act that out and play that out and see what that's like. And you can role play it with the therapist, or you just do it straight to the empty chair. And I don't necessarily do that, but that idea of bringing it up so that you can experience what it would be like to express, and maybe even do some reparation, do some reparative work.
Oh my God. Ugh, that was like the worst. When I was in treatment, we had to do that. And I was like, no, no, thanks. I don't want to talk to myself as a little girl. Not that it's not helpful. It's super helpful. It's just so vulnerable and like, so like it can be so sad and powerful. And, I just was like, no.
Right. Because all of that we, bottle up, we compartmentalize, we shove down. Sometimes therapists will purposefully make you uncomfortable and kind of challenge.
I do it
things.
all the time.
Right. But we'll do that to bring something up so it can then come out.
Right.
And I've had clients, depending on how they are and what their demeanor and what seems to be appropriate, I'll purposefully push certain buttons that I know will get them uncomfortable and will get something to come out. And they'll get mad at me, but that anger comes out, and then we get to go below that and below the surface to what's really underneath, which is amazing.
Totally. Yeah. And of course you brought up, not of course, an analogy, and you brought up the Matrix, the difference between knowing your path and walking your path.
Oh, I love that line.
Do tell me a little about that, Doug. What is it you love about it so much?
Everything. It's so deep. I mean, I've probably seen that movie a dozen times, and I can watch it a dozen more and love it. The idea of knowing your path and walking it, when we can say something like, well, intellectually, I understand this.
Right.
Right. But emotionally, are you connected to that?
Right.
When you feel something is different than when you know something. It's such a huge, connection to make. Like if you get something, I mean, in therapy, I've had plenty of clients to go, yeah, no, I know that. I know that. Like, and I'll keep poking to go, I know you know that, but do you experience it? Do you feel it? To me, that's walking your path, so to speak.
Right.
The way that Drew's like, yeah, I know this conversation's coming. Yeah, not because of him and his mom necessarily, but because of the work that we're doing and what we're bringing out. And some of what came out even in this session, him saying her situation isn't my situation.
Yeah.
Because he's so used to making it his problem. And he's starting to individuate. He's becoming his own individual, not being so tied to mom.
Right.
That's the experience. And that's the walking the path, not just knowing, yeah, I know I'm my own person. Sure.
Right. So you guys started talking about choice and obligation, and jumped and started talking about his mom. And he was saying how he feels obligated / almost is obligated to take care of her, because if he doesn't, who will? And then he said, and I know she's lying to me. And you said, okay, well, first she's lying to herself and then to you. Okay, totally. I get that.
Right.
But then you said, actually, who's telling you those lies? And kind of like, are you lying to yourself, Drew? And I was like, no, I disagree here. I get it. I don't think he's, and I don't know that mom's lying to herself, because we don't know if she is actually believing that she's going to not use again. She may just be straight up lying and knowing that she is either still using or plans on it. Right.
Right. I'm planting seeds for him, and I'm challenging him, and I'm trying to get him to see something. This is the forest, not just the trees. And I love that he said, I feel like I'm in a magic show.
Yeah.
Like that to me was such a cool recognition for him. I can see it and I can feel it, but it doesn't seem like it's real and it's not the truth. And I know it's not the truth. That's almost like going back to the Matrix. Like it's this thing that's just not real. Like you're just programmed this way.
Right.
And he's seeing that. And I pulled in another analogy that I thought would be great for him, because the idea of lying to himself, what I'm getting at is he has this narrative and this complex of, if I save enough people, I can save my mom. And he even took that one step further. He said, if I save enough people, I'll save my mom, which will save me.
Yeah. So I have some thoughts about that too.
Bring it.
So
let's go there.
If I save enough people, I'll save my mom. What? Sure. Like if we do some like under Freudian freaking like subconscious stuff. But I mean, really though, like, do you like to be helpful and like maybe even fix people or quote unquote save people? But I just felt like that was a stretch too. And also he kept saying, then I'll save myself. And then, but like, I still need help being saved. And I'm like, what does he need saving from?
Okay. So he is anxious, full of fear.
Sure.
And I mean, petrified of being abandoned and being left and not being good enough.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So if I save enough people, if I show God or my mom or myself or the universe that I am a good person, I'm good enough, I'm saving everybody, I'm doing good for everybody, then I'll be okay.
Nah, okay. I get what you're saying.
I mean, that's part of that complex. And that's, right. I mean, he's not thinking if I save enough people, I will literally save my mom.
I know.
But the same drive that has him wanting to save mom and afraid that he's going to be abandoned, left alone, the theme of him saying everybody leaves.
Right.
Which isn't true. But it's that ingrained in me, and it's because I'm not good enough, I'm not saving enough people. And that's what he and I are doing. And it's sort of sometimes direct, sometimes indirect, is we're saving him. We're getting him to recognize that function of his narrative and start to loosen it a little bit and see, wait, my mom's situation isn't mine. I don't have to save her. I can still have empathy and feel for her.
Well, that was my other question. Like, yeah. I mean, sure, it's easier to say I can't save her, or it's not I think you said like, it's not my job to save her or something like that. But like, really? Right. I would have done anything to save my mom. I mean, very different. Obviously, she didn't die from like using, but it definitely, it's not my job. It's like something that I would go to the ends of the earth for, even if I know sure. that I can't make a decision for it, or I can't shoot, or whatever. I can't. And I'm not saying it's his job, but no matter what, if he didn't try at some point, I feel like he would regret it for the rest of his life.
Sure. But we have to look at what try means. When I was giving the example of the guy that worked in recovery.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Saying, I'll throw a rope out to somebody. If I'm in a boat and I see somebody drowning in the water, I'll throw a rope out. If he doesn't take it, I'll throw it out a second time.
Right.
But then if he doesn't take it, then I'm going to look for somebody else that's drowning.
Yeah.
So it's try. Okay. How many times do you try? And if and sort of what he's saying
totally.
Is if I throw enough ropes out and I save enough people from drowning, then I'll feel like I've done enough.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know that that's an actual fulfilling place to be of
course.
I've given everything I have.
Right. Because then he doesn't give to himself.
And I'm talking to you. You have that complex too. You want to save everybody also.
I want to help. And I want to help people create a better quality of life for themselves if they can. So yes. But the word save, just like.
Should we talk about how many clients you have this week?
Be quiet. but him saying he needed to save himself, that word save was just so, I don't know. It just, because like, what does that mean? How do you save yourself as opposed to like working on yourself or like focusing more on yourself? I think the word save was just like, I mean, obviously it was dramatic. You compared him to Jesus. So there's that too.
Yeah, comparing him to Jesus, of course, because that's traditionally the Jesus complex, right? It's being a martyr, it's saving other people at your own expense. And I said something to him, and I don't know how well it sunk in, but it's something that we'll come back to. The idea of, I even said, it's not like you're going to somehow save her by giving her a purpose or a reason to live.
Right.
She needs to find that reason herself.
Right.
And she needs to feel good about herself from herself. And that's something that I think was starting to hit home a little bit. And that's where I was talking about the lying to himself there, that it's thinking that I can be good enough or I can save her and show her, see, I'm so good. There's a reason to live.
Right.
Because he thinks it's about him. It's not.
No, I know, that was so sad. And I think, well, actually, I don't know if you said or he said it, something about being a great rescuer, but like he needs to be rescued right now. That resonates more for me, rescued than saved for some reason. Like, I don't know why. It just does. The wording, semantics.
Yeah. Well, I love that Superman comic. Superman sitting on a therapist's couch saying, when is it my turn to be rescued?
Totally.
He got there himself. I just kind of led him there, but he went there of, if I save enough people, it'll save my mom, which will save me.
Yeah.
And that's him as Superman on my couch and me going, dude, take the fucking cape off. And clients coming in kind of going, yeah, maybe not saved, but I need to be rescued or I need to make a change and I don't know how to do it. That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
And that's something that when I brought up the Jesus complex and talking about that and what would Jesus do? Right. And the answer, it's not the answer, but it's kind of what it is he would save everybody. He would bear the burden for everybody. He would take it on. And Drew picked that up and was like, right, I told myself I could handle it. I'll just take it. And he realized that's another lie I've told myself, that I can handle it. I can't. I loved it. An old indie song, alt song from the 90s, Dinosaur Jr., I feel the pain of everyone. And then I feel nothing. You just can't take it anymore at all. And I think he's feeling that pressure, especially with mom, but it's everywhere. And it's starting to lessen, like he's realizing it, and we're working on it. That's what I think is so great about doing these sessions with him. It's not just like a one and done or a soundbite here. We've been leading up to this for a long time. We've talked about Superman and the cape for a while. He's able to like throw these analogies back at me and talk about, yeah, I'm a great rescuer, but I need to be rescued. He's getting it and he's realizing it. And that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
He's rescuing himself. I'm just here guiding him.
Oh, you're just like in the canoe next to him. Then we'll shift gears to the girl. Let's talk about the girl.
Sure.
This is an ex, right? That he sort of like is rekindling with, but not the recent ex.
Correct.
Okay.
This was an old girlfriend from back home that he just sort of reconnected with. Okay.
I guess part of this you guys started talking about, or he started talking about being frustrated with himself because he doesn't lack a lot, or he's lacking motivation right now and will just sort of choose to sit on the couch instead. And so he brought up this girl and talked about how she's often, or for a long time, been one of those people for him who's like, no, come on, like, let's go out. And even when he just saw her recently, she said the same thing. And I was thinking to myself, oh, the good old days when you could just go out to dinner and check out the town. Little do you know, Drew, what's in store for you.
Oh, yeah.
You can sit on the couch forever in a year from now if you want.
Right. I know. Coming up, we're like maybe 6 weeks away from the pandemic hitting. And you're right. This was, an old girlfriend from back home up north that was near town. So he went and saw her.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's a lot of history there because that was his longtime old girlfriend.
Well, and it was so mature of him to think about potential consequences, ramifications. He's saying he doesn't want a girlfriend, but he's feeling lonely now, right? And so he wants someone to hang out with, and he doesn't want to hurt her or have things, he doesn't know what he wants.
Right.
Today he wants her, he's choosing her, but like, what about tomorrow? And he referred to it as, thinks of it as something as long-term. And then he said like, yeah, for me though, when I think about long-term, it's like marriage and kids. I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude, you're 25. Like, okay.
Sure.
But it's so insightful. He said he wanted to be intentional about it. I was like, wow, that was not something that was in my vocabulary or in my emotional repertoire when I was your age.
Well, I think a lot of what we've been doing in therapy like that, even earlier in the session, talking about choice and obligation. And he could feel himself slipping into an old pattern with her of feeling obligated. He's like, wait a second, I'm not her boyfriend. Why am I feeling this obligation again? Hang on, I don't want to do this. And he did have a conversation with her and they did talk about that. And he was pretty clear and intentional. I give him a lot of credit for it because it's really hard when you're feeling lonely and there's somebody that you've had an intimacy with where you just go, cool, here's my human connection and here's the intimacy. Great. This feels great. I don't feel as lonely anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And that's when we talked about the two harms that you could do there. One is you're harming the other person because you're possibly misleading them, unless they're like, hey, I'm lonely too. So let's just do this and keep each other company. We'll be fine.
Yeah. It's called a COVID relationship.
Right. Or COVID romance. But COVID hadn't happened yet. So we weren't there yet. Stick around. Wait a couple months.
Yeah.
The second harm being you're harming yourself because you're not being true to yourself and you're giving yourself just a little quick fix of something that feels good, but it's not really getting to the core. It's not getting to that big piece of like, oh, my self-worth. Cool. I'm good. And that's where he mentioned his dog too, right? Like, cool. That's why you have a dog.
Yeah. Yep. Well, and you talked about revisionist history within the relationship. And I love that because it is so easy to do.
Oh, yeah. I mean, breakups are so fun for that objectively, not when you're in it. When you're in it, it sucks.
Yes.
But you look back and you're like, gosh, we had so much fun. She was so great for me. She was so wonderful. Everything was, oh man, I loved it. And then someone will go, yeah, what about the part where like she never liked you going to church? Like, oh yeah, that kind of sucked. And what about the part where, she only wanted to eat spicy food and you can't tolerate spicy food? Oh yeah, that sucked too. I don't know. Right. We just forget about that.
I know it's so easy to do. We're like, oh, it was so great.
Right. Or the opposite. Or just see the bad stuff and demonize the person and hate it and be so angry, which it's all part of the process of a breakup. You go through both of those.
Yeah. And that often makes it easier too, to get through. You're like, fuck you.
Fuck you. I love you. I can't live without you. It's interchangeably happening. And the reality is it takes time. And if that's what helps pass the time, okay.
Yeah.
And if that's what brings some of these emotions up, great. Let them come up, get them out. Anybody who's doing this in a therapist's office, fantastic. Right. That's wonderful. That's where you get it out.
Yep. Spew it out.
You love that word.
Ugh, it's so gross. It's like moist. Ew. Yeah, he's just a good egg. He just is really insightful and like even thinking about the other person.
Yeah.
I mean, that was not happening at my age. I was at that when I was his age or at my age.
Right. Still not. I'd like to think that it's happening because he really is getting his sense of self and really is thinking about his own integrity and how he wants to be.
Oh, yeah.
And looking at his true needs. If it's, well, I need to be rescued or I need to stop rescuing everybody else or wait, I don't need a quick fix or
right.
I mean, he's really, you're seeing it over the course of the last few sessions and the groundwork that we laid over the last several months. What's fun is I'm in real time with him 1 year later from now. He and I can look back at some of these episodes now where he's just really coming into his own and starting to change. And we can look at the progress that he's made in a year. And if you guys have been listening since the beginning and you hear him now, he's a little different than he was.
Oh,
if you keep listening and you hear him 6 months from now, you're going to be blown away. Like, wow, he's different. He's really become his own. And different, not like he's become a different person, but he's become a more authentic version of himself. And it gets easier to live that way.
Well, and that's why this is so awesome because we do get to go along for the ride and like be there and see the growth and the differences. It's
right.
Yep. Fucking awesome, dude.
And that's why we love our job.
Yep. I'm looking forward to next week, seeing what happens.
Well, stick around. We will be back next week for all of you to see what happens. And in the meantime,
don't go pet a mountain lion.
Do not pet a mountain lion. Don't even leave your house. Don't go anywhere. Don't do anything all week.
No.
Except your dishes and your bed. Go wash your pillows.
Oh, yeah. We're going to have a whole thing on that. I can't wait. Okay.
Right. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.